In this update, both the regular and the golden cowboy have been rebalanced. But first, we'll talk about the regular cowboy. So, at level 0, there's been a couple of changes to the cowboy. Most importantly, its placement limit has decreased from 12 to 10. One would therefore assume that the cowboy at all levels has gotten more powerful. We shall see if that is the case. So, at level 0, the things that's changed is that its damage has increased from 2 to 3, whereas the spin time has decreased from 1.7 to 1.5. Furthermore, its income, the cowboy's income, has increased from $25 to $30. Yeah, so this will set the tone of the cowboy. And from this, it kind of makes sense why the developers nerfed the placement limits for the cowboy. It generates more cash, and if there were to be more cowboys in the game, that would technically mean the cowboy would generate more cash. Now, technically speaking, if you were to only place down cowboys exclusively, that's not necessarily the case, given the fact that all of the shots are still going to a cowboy. The only difference is that the DPS for the cowboy has increased because you have more cowboy towers, but you're still generating the same amount of income because, well, you're still shooting the required amount of shots to kill an enemy. It's just that it's spread out over more cowboys the more you buy. That being said though, the cowboy is more powerful per shot now, so that's fair enough why they would probably want to nerf the placement limit, at least early on. At this level as well, they've increased the placement cost for the cowboy from 450,000 to 500,000. Damage obviously increased to 2 to 3, thereby meaning that the DPS of the cowboy is now 2.75, which is an increase from the 1.78 that it was previously. The range has also increased from 11 to 14, and range values will be incorrectly shown here because I've accidentally had skills enabled. And this means that the cost efficiency for the cowboy has gone from 250.81 to 181.82, which for a cowboy sounds really good given the fact that it generates cash while also dealing amount of DPS cost efficiency wise, which kind of makes sense again why they limited the number of cowboys to 10 now rather than 12. There are also some other statistics for the cowboy, including income per second, which has increased from 3.71 to 5.59, and the income efficiency, which is calculated as income plus cash shot times damage divided by cash shot times damage, is now 2.67, which is actually worse compared to what it was previously, which is 3.08. That's because damage is a statistic here, and the less damage that a cowboy does, the higher the income efficiency from, say, an enemy. But I think most people wouldn't mind that, given the fact that a cowboy does more damage and generates slightly more income per cash shot. As for level 1, its upgrade cost has decreased from 250 to 150, meaning that the total price increase has actually not increased, it's decreased from 700 to 650. The damage remains the same at 3. The fire rate has decreased from 0.8 to 0.75, so the cowboy shoots faster. The spin time has decreased from 1.7 to 1.25 at this level. The income remains the same at this level from level 0, which is 30, but that's an increase from what it was previously, which was 25. However, at this level, there is no range increase. Previously, there was a range increase to 14, but that's been moved as the placements limit, thereby meaning that this level, all it does is change the fire rate for the cowboy. Now, because of these changes, which was mostly to the fire rate and the spin time, which is accounted for in DPS, the DPS for the cowboy has increased from 3.14 to 3.57, and the cost efficiency has decreased from 222.93 to 182.07. One thing to bear in mind is that this level does not have hidden detection. Otherwise, this would be the level that I would recommend for everyone to get, because this is where the cowboy is most cost efficient. Furthermore, the income for the cowboy per tower has increased from 4.36 to 5.95. The income efficiency, though, has actually also increased to 2.39 to 2.67. I never realized how efficient income efficiency the original cowboy was at level 0, but then again, it was pretty weak, so that doesn't really mean much. As for level 2, the upgrade cost has increased from 300 to 550 at this level. Therefore, the total price has increased from 1,000 to 1,200. Furthermore, the damage has increased from 4 to 5. The fire rate has decreased, but that's because of level 1 to 0.75, whereas it was with 0.8 previously. The cash shots has also changed because of level 1 from 1.7 to 1.25. But quite importantly at this level, the income that the cowboy generates at the cash shots has increased from $40 to $50. The range remains the same at 16, so this means that the DPS for the cowboy has increased from 4.18 to 5.95. Do bear in mind that this is the cash shot upgrade level. The cost efficiency has therefore decreased from 239.23 to 201.68. So the income per second has kind of increased quite a bit from 6.97 to 9.92, but the income efficiency has actually remained the same at 2.67. So you're getting a more powerful Cowboy at this level while generating roughly the amount of same income that it was previously, except you're getting slightly more per damage. However, again, do bear in mind that the placement limit for the regular Cowboy has decreased from 12 to 10. As for level 3, the upgrade costs have decreased from 2,000 to 1,750 to 1,500, meaning that the total price has increased from 2,500 previously to 2,700 now. Now, this is a level where the Cowboy gets hidden detection, so naturally, many people aim this level, even though cash shot wise, it may not be the best. However, DPS wise, well, its damage remains the same at 8. But the fire rate has decreased from 0.7 to 0.5. At this level, the spin time has also decreased from 1.2 seconds to 1, and the income generated has been buffed at the previous level from 40 to 50. Therefore, the DPS for the Cowboy has increased from 10.13 to 13.56, meaning that the cost efficiency has gone from 246.79, which was the worst out of levels 0 to 3, to one of the best actually now. Well, I would say one of the best. It is still second worst, but it is better than it was at level 3. At 199.12 cost efficiency. This compares to the new level 2 cost efficiency, which is 201.68. Thereby, the income per second has increased from 8.44 to 14.12, and the income efficiency has increased from 1.83 to 2.04, which is worse than it was previously for level 2, but it's still an actual increase to what it was before this update. So, the Cowboy, yes, decidedly buffed. Again though, placement limits, and it's more expensive actually. However, next we have level 4, and here we see a massive decrease in upgrade costs, going from 4,000 to only 3,000. Therefore, the total cost for the Cowboy has decreased from 6,500 to 5,700. The damage, however, has actually remained the same. So previously it was 10 damage, but now it's 8 damage. So this is the same as level 3. To compensate for this, however, the fire rate has decreased from 0.35 to 0.2. The spin time has remained the same at 1 from the previous level, which is a decrease from what it was previously, which was 1.2. The income has decreased, interestingly, at this level from 120 to 100, although that's more balancing reasons about the fact that the Cowboy has actually decreased in cost. Interestingly, the range has increased at this level from 18 to 20, thereby meaning the DPS for the Cowboy has increased from 23.36 to 25.01. The cost efficiency has decreased from 278.25 to 227.91. The income per second has increased from 23.36 to 26.06, but the income efficiency has increased slightly from 2 to 2.04. So yes, you're generating less income than you did previously, but you are getting more DPS out of the Cowboy, which I think is totally fair, and this may be the new level where you aim for, at least DPS wise, given the fact that there's hidden detection, plus it looks kind of cool when you're generating income. Meanwhile, as for level 5, which previously was a dud for the Cowboy, now the upgrade cost has decreased from 7,500 to 5,250. This means that the total cost for the Cowboy has decreased quite a bit from 14,000 to 10,950, which is further interesting given the fact that the Cowboy has lost 2 towers, yet the placement limit has decreased by 2. However, the damage for the Cowboy has decreased from 20 to 15, but this is compensated by the fire rate decrease that we saw in the level 4 upgrade from 0.3 to 0.25. The spin time has decreased at this level as well from 1 second to 0.85 seconds. The income for the Cowboy has also increased at this level from 180 to a nice round $200. There's a range increase for the level 5 Cowboy, but that's because of level 4 from 18 to 20, thereby meaning that the DPS for the Cowboy has actually decreased because of the damage nerf. You're going from 56.63 to 46.9. Thereby meaning that the cost efficiency for the Cowboy has only decreased slightly from 247.22 to 233.48. The income per second has increased because of the fire rates from 42.47 to 52.11, and the income efficiency has increased quite massively because of the damage decrease from 1.75 to 2.11. Now, from these changes, it's very clear that the Cowboy is better earlier on, but later on, yeah, the Cowboy is not as good. It's very much been shifted towards early game and the mid game rather than the late game, which is further evidenced by the fact that its placement limit has decreased from 12 to 10, thereby limiting the amount of DPS that the Cowboy can do, thereby meaning that you probably need another tower, DPS-wise, later on. Now, I wouldn't say that this is necessarily a bad thing, given the fact that the income generated by the Cowboy is only beneficial earlier on. Later on, yes, the income generated could be quite useful for abilities without cost and, you know, the hacker tower. However, it's really early on that the income actually makes a big difference, which is why the income for the Cowboy has been buffed earlier on from level 0 to level 3, but from level 4 and level 5, the income, it's either middling, in the case of level 5, which is increased from 180 to 200, or even decreased in the case of level 4 from 120 to 100. Not entirely sure what to make of this rebalance. I think most people would say that this is a buff. In fact, I think most people actually have said that this is a buff. However, do be very cautious about this, given the fact that the Cowboy has gotten weaker during the late game. Again, though, I don't think many people were using the Cowboy for DPS, and all levels, apart from level 5, have increased their DPS, so yeah, it's a kind of mute point.